Well, hello there everyone. Happy day 21 of the Vlogmas. I'm coming on much later than usual today. It's almost 4, meaning it's almost time for me to start my teaching day on a Thursday. I've just wrapped up the call with my fellow membership site business owners that I meet with. Just a wonderful, wonderful group of women. I love meeting up with them. It always gives me so many ideas and confidence in what I'm doing and questions about things I'm doing as well, which is amazing. It's just so valuable. Yeah, it's been a couple of years that we've been meeting together, I think, and it's made so much difference. It's just great to have that meeting every month. Anyway, so I've just finished up with that, but yeah, it's been a busy day. I had a maybe interview this morning that was a no. I wasn't sure because they didn't reply to my final, like, here's the time, and then they never replied. So I was like, well, I better get ready and like not be in my pajamas in case they show up. Not that I was in my pajamas anyway, but you know what I mean. And then they didn't show up, which I was kind of expecting. Then I was supposed to have a meeting with my lawyer, but right before the meeting, he sent me a whole list of questions, and I was like, it would be faster for me to answer these in text rather than us being on a call, and then I have to try and read the legalese at the same time as I'm on a meeting. So I kind of emailed that to him and he was like, fine, just reply in text. So that's what I did, which meant I had time to go for a walk with G and Mr. Tofu, which was great to have time to do that. And then I had an interview that was properly scheduled and that ran later, which is always a good sign. We just couldn't stop talking basically. So that was like an hour. So it was really tiring. And then I had the meeting with my business owners kind of group. So it's been a really good day in many ways, but a bit tiring. It's my last day of teaching though before our break. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited. I'm wearing full on reindeer. You can see my skirt and everything. So we've gone full reindeer today. And I'm looking forward to my students coming in a minute, but I just wanted to check in with you all first. So yeah, we've got the Christmas games out for today. I've got my Christmas chord charts as well, so we'll be playing along with those. I have a lot of slightly older students today, like not super young, so playing along with the chord charts is generally more fun when the students are a little bit older. So that's going to be awesome. And yeah, on the teacher search front, I've 2 good contenders. I'm not going to be too specific, obviously, but 2 good contenders, which is a good position to be in. 1 front runner, but a question mark that I have to answer. So we'll see. But not looking too bad. I'm very, very, very appreciative of the fact that I got Indeed sorted this time, because when I was doing the hiring in the summer, I didn't have Indeed online. Like, I couldn't use it because, yeah, they blocked our post, as I've mentioned. So, and that is where we got the most applications from. So that's good to know for future. And also just made this process easier. I might eat my words if then somehow none of these candidates work out, because that does happen. You know, you go to people who seem so sure and then suddenly they're like, well, actually, I'm moving to Australia. But as long as something like that doesn't happen, this process has been easier than it was in the summer, which is a huge relief. And yeah, I've been working more on my steps and skips type reading book, the one based on sports today. And something has been in my head all day, which is, okay, so I'm just like not a sports person, as you may have gathered. But you know, I try to get in the zone of each sport and write these pieces from that perspective. But yeah, I'm more like solo sports person if I'm anything. So the swimming one, personal experience, no problem. Dancing, easy. But anything that's like a team sport, I did a bit of basketball as a teenager, but on the B team, like I was terrible is what that means. And yeah, I'm just not a big sports person. I don't really watch it. The only sport I have ever enjoyed watching really is rugby, and I didn't put that in the book because it's not a very universal sport. So all that to say, as I was doing the illustrations today. I'm nearly done with those. I'm just working on the cover. And I kept having this song, which is from a comedy duo. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description below, but I will just say, without even watching it again, there's probably some profanity in there. So if you're easily offended by, or not easily, if you're offended by profanity and things, don't click on the link, okay? It's not going to be your style, and that is okay. But if you're not, it's, yeah, you might enjoy it. Or you might already know it. What's been running through my head is Sports Go Sports. So if you know what that is, it's been going round and round. Unless I have other music on, it's just Sports Go Sports. Because that's how kind of I feel like as I'm talking about sports, like you should not have this job. Anyway, so yeah, that's been my day. I also got everything else I was supposed to get done that I was telling you yesterday. So like the concept collection and the bits and pieces and a lot of messages. It's been a busy day. Hence I have not come on to talk to you. So there was a comment that was asking for some input from me about registration fees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on today after my teaching and talk to you about that. So I will see you then. Hey folks. Okay, so you're getting a bit of a different view because the lighting is slightly better. Still not good, obviously, as you can see, but slightly better if I put you here, which is propped up on the piano. In the evening, because it's fully dark outside. Very cloudy too. Anyway, so yeah, I'm finished with my teaching now. All my students played our Christmas tunes with our chord charts, did some Christmas games. We were doing the one, what's it called? I know I've forgotten one. Gift grab. Nearly forgot the name of my game there. Where you match the box lids to the presents. And my last group got them all matched up this week. Last week they were totally stumped. So it worked because those terms stuck from last week and they were able to figure out the ones they weren't as sure about. So that was great. And in general, yeah, lessons were all very smooth today. One student I'm particularly proud of who is really on top of their exam preparation. So that was awesome. It's rare at this stage of the preparation, like a month in, to not have to be like, okay, get the lead out, like, let's move. But this student is just like, she's clearly practicing all her scales, clearly practicing exactly what she's told to with her pieces. It's just one of those things, so it's lovely. And then another student I'm really proud of for very different reasons, who we had to take, last year was basically one big long lateral move. She has dyslexia, and so reading has been challenging, and yeah, anyway, last year we did a lot of lateral like movement, and now we're really moving forward with the reading. It wasn't all lateral movement last year in terms of like everything else, I just mean in the area of reading, so it's great to see her moving forward, and her technique is so much better today. Yeah, good note to finish on. So yeah, it's evening time now. I'm going to go and make dinner soon, but I wanted to answer that question that was in a comment before I wrap up and upload this, which was about my materials fee and how I do that. So basically, the way I describe it to parents is that our studio is all inclusive. All your books, everything is going to be included. I don't specifically call that fee a materials fee, although I do know what you're asking about, and like I have called it that in the past. Now I just call that the registration fee. And if parents query it, I might say, oh, it goes towards the cost of materials. All your books are included. But in general, I just talk about it as your fees include everything. Your folder, any sheet music I buy, books, whatever. Everything is included except for exam fees. That's the only extra that ever comes up. And yeah, they kind of get how that is partially covered by the registration fee, but I don't talk about it that way a lot. I think thinking of it as a materials fee is kind of the wrong way to go for you, because I talk to a lot of teachers about this because I think it interests a lot of teachers as an idea, because we've all had those times when the parent doesn't purchase the books on time, or they buy the wrong editions, or it's just awkward to have to tell people in advance, like, they need this book coming up, and it's much easier to have it on your shelf and pull from your shelf. And we also have the issue with subscriptions, studio licenses and all those things, and like, how do we split those up among parents, or do we just foot the cost of those, or how does that work? So for me, it does make a lot more sense for everything to be going into one pot, and then I'm just providing all the books and everything. So I don't think about it as a materials fee. And the reason I'm saying it can be unhelpful to think about it that way for you is sometimes teachers then want to like make it exact. Like, they'll think about it as a materials fee and they think about that as like a kitty for that student that they're then spending money from. And then they kind of top it up, like the parent needs to kind of top it up. That's so complicated, that's causing so many headaches. No, it just averages out. That's how I see this. So for me, it's just an average. When I first brought it in, if you're thinking of bringing it in, which is what the question was about, I just averaged across my studio what I would spend on a student in a year. And then I brought in a registration fee that covered that. I don't think about it that way anymore. A couple of years ago, I put it up because I was finding, okay, books are gone up considerably. So I kind of redid the calculation. I put it up a bit. But that registration fee, for me, it's €80 per student. It doesn't cover everything, for sure, but it just helps offset some of that cost. So really, I'm thinking about the fees in total. But that gives you some idea of how to get started with it, is calculate the average for students. Or you could take all your students, or you could just take a sampling, like take a beginner and take an intermediate and take a teenager and take an adult, whatever. And think about all the books that they used last year. How much did that cost? Then add on a cost for any other things you want to provide to everyone, like I provide the piano bag and the folder and things like that. And then if you want to also, if you're not currently budgeting at all for subscriptions like Vibrant Music Teaching, like sheet music subscriptions, anything like that, or studio license music, you might want to build that in as well. But that's going to be split across your whole studio. So you add up all those subscription fees or whatever, stuff like that, that's across everyone, and divide it by the number of students, and then add that. So let's say it was 200, and you've 20 students, you add 10 on to the cost per student, right? So you kind of come up with an average, and then the commenter pointed out quite rightly that it's not the same cost for everyone of every level. No parent has ever quibbled with me on this. They just know that it's all inclusive, everything's included, fine, I don't have to think about it anymore, and they're quite happy about that. Like, they love this. They don't have to, it's one less book list or, materials list for them to source for their child, so they really like it. But the way I think about it, yes, it's not the same for everyone. My intermediate students and above, generally their books are more expensive. However, they usually use fewer of them in a year. They'll often have like one main book and then a few sheet music things. So it kind of adds up to the same amount as a beginner who's going through more cheaper books. It roughly works out the same. The other difference you've got is some students move slower, some move faster. For the students who move slower, number one, often it's because they're not practicing, and if a student is moving faster because they're practicing loads and therefore they're costing more in terms of the books, I'm quite happy about that because I'm delighted at how much they're practicing. So that doesn't really bother me. Also, if a student is moving slower, even if it's through lack of practice or through no fault of their own, just through circumstances, whatever, often you're using more other materials for them because you need things to do. You need extra supplements and extra stuff. So you might use more supplemental resources with them because they're moving more slowly. You might print out more games that end up being used for them or loan them to use at home. You see what I mean? So it all just kind of evens out. So I think it's a case of KISS. Side note, that was when my dad retired from, he was a lecturer of architecture at a university here, And when he retired, his gift from his students was like a fancy pen with KISS printed on it. So he clearly used the phrase a lot. It stands for keep it simple, let's say silly, and be polite, right? So we need to keep it simple sometimes. There's no reason to make things complicated. If you're thinking about bringing it in and like, how do I announce it to parents? Do it at a natural break time. So like when between terms, or I make all changes like this in the summer. When we're starting a new year, the announcement is for the new year. And you just simply explain it. From next year on, all materials are going to be included in your fees. Here's the fees for next year. I mean, it's really that simple. The registration fee thing I'll just come back to, because there's another reason I like that. It's not just to offset some of the materials cost. Like you could just put up your fees and have everything included. But the registration fee, returning students pay that in July to secure their spot for September. So we have a summer break here. We don't have any lessons. And in July, they have, by July, like they get the forms and everything at the end of May. And by mid-July, they have to have enrolled with the registration fee and their enrollment form for September. And that secures their spot. And having a fee attached to that is really, really useful, because it means parents don't just like fill out your form and then change their mind. If they're putting money down, they'll think about the decision. And even if they do end up backing out, that's like your extra deposit that you have to cover those first 2 lessons when you can't fill that spot because they've backed out at the last minute. So, but it really just makes people pay attention and like hand in their enrollment forms more on time too, because, which is all I really want. It's not that I need that registration fee early, although it helps to like buy the new music in advance of the next term. But it's actually more about, I want them to take that enrollment form seriously and give it to me so that I have the scheduling preferences. That's what it's all about for me. Anyway, I hope that answers a bit about that. I'm going to wrap it up here and upload this so that you can enjoy day 21. Not a particularly eventful day, but final day of teaching for me. So fun to take you along for that. Tomorrow we are going to town. Dublin is a city, but we tend to say going to town when we're going to the city centre. So we're going into the city centre to meet some friends. If it's dry, if it's not raining, we're going to walk. So that should be nice. Maybe show you a bit along the way. The walk to town is quite nice, through a couple of parks and then along a canal, which, you know, has birds and sometimes swans and stuff like that. So I might get to show you a bit of that. The morning is going to be, I think, cleaning to get ready for visitors arriving. Obviously I keep the teaching areas very clean, but like the living area needs a bit of a cleaning before we have visitors. So yeah, heading to town, and then we've got VLOGMAS in the evening. So yeah, I'll catch up with you tomorrow.